$1.3 trillion. So that's the amount of money that will be saved by this one deal at the WTO.
So the World Trade Organization has recently seen an adoption of the Nairobi Package, and this package deal has been described as historic. Can you tell us a bit about this package, please?
Yes, sure. I should first explain that the Nairobi Package it resulted from a ministerial conference, which is a meeting held by all the ministers of WTO member countries, of which there are 162. So at one level, this was a historic meeting because it was the first one held in Africa. But I think it might be a bit of an exaggeration to claim that the outcome in substance and scope was in any way historic, except for maybe a small outcome for a small sector, which means a lot for that sector, which is the elimination of all agricultural export subsidies, some with immediate effect and some that will be phased out over time. And that will be a big deal for businesses, commodity traders, and agricultural producers in those countries that export them.
So what are the main countries that we're going to see that are benefiting from this?
Well, I think the real driver behind this piece of the negotiation was definitely Brazil, and they'll be the big winner from this export deal.
So they're the winners. Was there anything that was unresolved from the World Trade Organization, and were there any challenges that are still yet to be overcome?
Yes. Most certainly, there are big challenges that remain, and the biggest challenge of all is the failure of the WTO members and the ministers to reach a resolution as to what to negotiate on and how to conduct negotiations among 162 countries who are all from very different levels of economic development. So for 15 years, all these countries have been trying to reach a deal, and we all thought they might reach a deal in Nairobi, but in the end, their declaration brings into fairly stark relief the disagreement, because it says many members want to continue the agenda as it's currently being negotiated, but many other members really want to stop the negotiation in its current form and really address new issues that are more relevant to businesses today, including issues that didn't even exist 15 years ago when the negotiations began in the area of electronic commerce and digital trade, for example.
Of course. And what are the main challenges for businesses going forward from this?
Yes, well, the first thing is that businesses really need to follow the implementation of this deal on agricultural export subsidy elimination, because it will result in changes in trade patterns. And so businesses that work in that area will want to watch and see whether there are changes in the trade patterns or not, and whether or not certain countries gain more and export more, and other countries stop producing at the level that they were. The other thing is that a lot of developments at the WTO go on under the radar. So businesses need to watch and make sure that what they produce is covered by deals that are reached at the WTO. And a good example of that is recently at the WTO, there was an information technology agreement reached that covers over 200 technology products, and annual trade in customs tariffs for those 200 products costs $1.3 trillion. So that's the amount of money that will be saved by this one deal at the WTO. And that's just an example of what can be achieved in certain sectors. So business should really take a hard look and see whether their sectors are affected by that kind of deal, or whether they should encourage their governments to engage in a similar negotiation in the sector that concerns them and their business.
Absolutely. And what will this do for commodity prices then going forward from this? If it's an agriculture deal that was made, how will this affect the prices?
Well, you know that prices are in many ways driven by subsidies. So if you eliminate subsidies on agricultural products, then you'll see changes in trade flows most certainly. The other thing is, another aspect of the Nairobi deliverable was an agreement by rich countries to eliminate import restrictions and tariffs on cotton from the poorest countries in the world. So there we'll also see changes in commodity patterns, where you'll have, for example, African countries exporting greater levels of cotton at a lower price.
Absolutely. Well, it's really amazing. So thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you, Jessica, for inviting me.
Well, that's all from myself and Daniel, but for all the latest Jugoscopy updates and exclusive interviews, do keep clicking back. Goodbye for now.